Okay, good morning. I'm Tama Bouncer and I'm president of Wake RSP and also director of Region 5. And this presentation today, and I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And then when Barbara gets here, she will go back to the beginning of it. And it's creating your legacy, how to have an effective term as president. And Barbara is president of New Hanover RSP. I'm going to move ahead to, okay, where I am with, and the deadline is. And these are the deadlines that need to be kept in mind for your unit throughout the year. The local audit is one that is coming up, and that report is due August the 15th. And then some things to remember about that the banking statements must capture the June 30th, 2024 date and accompany the form. Then a member of your budgeting committee, audit committee, or executive board completes the report. So any member of your unit may assist in preparing the audit. It doesn't, from what I can tell, it doesn't take a lot of time to prepare it. And there must be a different member to complete the report other than persons who are on the bank account. So when the report is submitted, the signatures on it cannot be anyone who's the signature of anyone who is on your bank account. So another member, someone else who served on the committee, but not anyone who's on the bank account. And the two options for submitting the report, it could be mailed to the office, the NCRSP office by August 15th, or you can email the audit. And that's what I usually do is email it because it's just easier. And this is the form, the internal audit form. And so it also at the bottom has the information for mailing or emailing the form. Are any questions for me? Oh, okay. If not,
you can. Do you have to type it in? Do you have to type it in, or is this hand printed?
If you,
or what do you mean by email it in? That's what I mean.
Well, once the form is complete, if you have typed it in, or if you save it as a PDF, it usually will allow you to fill and sign as a PDF, and then you can save a copy of it and then attach it to your email. You have to get the signatures. So then after you get the signatures, you would need to scan it and then send it. Did that answer your question?
But you can just write it out.
Yes.
Hand write it out if she doesn't have that set up in her computer. Yeah.
Okay, yes, that's fine. Because I don't believe it's a fillable form. Is that correct, Carol?
I think we're trying to make all the forms fillable, but I'm not sure we're quite there yet. So you may have to download it on your computer and make it a PDF.
Oh, okay. And Linda, your hand is raised. Linda?
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, also I put down, it's good, we need to really have everybody to email the audit, or just if you're gonna mail it, to send it to the region director, because sometimes they get lost and maybe they don't get to the state office or we can't find them. And so that's a backup. And also the region director needs to be looking over these reports as well. Seeing about the bank accounts, making sure that scholarship money is separate, 2 signatures on the account. It's just another backup because we have had region, treasurers with the only signature on the account and one died.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. That is true. And so that's an excellent backup plan. Any other questions? Or moving on to the other reports that will be due? Okay, so looking at these, the local memorials report, and those are due by February the 10th to the state office. And you can send the names of any deceased members to your regional memorials share monthly so that you have an ongoing record. And when sending it to the state office, if there was a name on the list the previous year, make sure it is not included when that report is sent by February the 10th. So then the next member information update, and you would complete that and submit as needed. It may be an update for an email address or a mailing address or any other information that would need to be updated in the system. Then local offices and chairs for 2024, 2026. That is to be completed and mailed or emailed to the state office by July the 1st. So those officers that will take their positions effective July 1, then I'm sure that most have already had those elections. So just be sure to submit that information on that form.
I have
Then,
a question, to get the member information update do you have a spreadsheet that's up to date? Because somebody was complaining about this is all they had.
okay, NEA sends once a month 3 Excel files. One of them is that shows the current membership. Another one shows any members who have terminated their membership, and the other would be new members. And using that information, you can check what NEA and NCRSP has on file as far as the contact information for your members. And that form includes their name, their mailing address, phone numbers, their membership number, and also the dues amounts that they pay.
And the person in the state office is who that handles that?
That is just sent to the local presidents.
Should also go to the membership chair and the treasurer
So there
of
will
each
be,
local.
right, so three individuals, 3 of your officers will receive that report.
Okay, treasurer should. I don't think she has it either.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Okay. And then convention delegates, that information will come out at the appropriate time for individuals who wish to have their names on the list to be considered to be elected as a delegate for the and actually that would be the NCRSP or NCAE convention. And then, yes, Linda, hand is raised.
Well, I'll finish this section first.
Okay. Okay, I'm seeing what you have in the chat.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Memorials for the fall edition are needed by September and by January, February for the spring panorama, which goes out before the convention.
So
So-
if everybody kept them until February, we would have no names.
Okay.
Carol needs to probably say something because she deals with this.
Okay, I was gonna say, to local presidents, tell your memorials chair, I think we need a separate training, Linda, for memorials chair, but don't hold on to those names. Once a member passes, please let the state office know as soon as possible, because if they're on, credit card or out of their bank account, you could save the next payment coming out if you just keep holding on to those and don't let us know immediately that someone has passed, because we can stop the dues payment and save the family some money, because those payments come out on a regular basis. So don't hold that information up, but do let your regional memorials chair know about those members that are on your report for the quarter, so they can track it also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. And then also in probably around October or so, there will be an email asking for, and I didn't put this on here, about the individuals who are interested in having their names on the list be considered as delegates to the NEA convention. And so just kind of watch out for that because it comes rather quickly. And then that deadline is there and then it's gone before you know it. So if you have members who are interested in having their names on that ballot, then just make sure that they get the information. Usually around the November meeting is when that information will, well, when I share it with my membership, or when I get the information, email it out so that they have it. And then the local unit president's report. And this is the form that is to be completed. Linda, what is the deadline? And because based on the information, it's a matter of this form being able to complete it with all of this information, or because it's submitted one time, correct, Linda?
I believe so. I don't have the date, but I think it's June 1st.
It's usually around mid-May. But because the form hadn't been updated, I think it's been extended.
Okay,
My
because
impression.
Carol, can you tell us?
The form that's on the screen, I think is the current one because Tara just updated this, but
Yeah.
that does conflict with the information that Tama reported that we need to have your leadership names by July 1st. This one says September 1st.
Yeah, but there was that new business item, and I know I didn't say July 1st for officers. It was June 1st. And then it was July 1st for the committee chairs. We have to look up that new business item.
okay.
Yeah. The new form just came out yesterday. Tama,
Yes, yeah,
and
this
I was
is,
trying to get it on the hyperlink, so I have it up. But I will say that if it's a PDF, you're going to have to download it and either print it and then add paper to it if you're going to handwrite anything, because at the last one they want the description of the projects or political involvement that your unit did this year.
there's actually a second page that has that. Well, no, it wasn't. It was the way it showed up on my screen, but
Right.
you-
It does. Yeah.
Right.
If you save it, you can add pages, but if you're downloading it, you're going to have to add that in or put it on the back.
right. And so it's just getting this in. You said June 1st, Linda?
I think so. I'm looking up the new business item because I remember that was something that I want to make sure that those listings get put off, because if you put them off, pretty soon it's October, and we really
Okay.
need to have all that to put on the website by August.
And this will basically be information from the past year.
Right. So
Okay.
like Carol said about, meeting your calendar, meeting calendar dates and things like that, that was for the prior year. Did you have it done by September 1st of the prior year?
Right. So just keep that in mind. Any other questions about the form or this report?
I have a question about it. It says website.
Okay.
Okay, well, what do most people do? Do they put the website under their name or under the county or what? How do they do that to start it out?
New Hanover County has a website that is with Wix, and it's under New Hanover County Retired School Personnel. Julia Thorne has a website with Carteret County, which is a good website to go look at. And then I know there's a couple other locals that have their own websites.
Mhm.
But it's paid. How I pay for my local's website is through a region grant to help pay for that, because I went ahead and had the website updated so that it could be protected against hacking and copying. So I put a license on it.
Okay. Liz, your hand is raised.
Have to unmute here. I was just gonna say, we're lucky enough to have a technically skilled person in our region. So we have a region website, which might make it easier for everybody else. And then each local has a page. So someone could go directly to the page for the local, but also there's the region one. And from the region one, you can click on each local.
That's a
Thank
good
you.
idea, Liz.
That is. Okay. All right.
I found the new business item. I'm trying to put it in the chat, and it was there, and here
Oh.
it is. It did populate now. Okay, now I just need to send it.
Oh.
I guess I just hit enter. Yeah, there it is. Because it says, June 1st, all local presidents and region directors submit up-to-date list of local officers to the state office, and by August 1st, all local presidents and region directors submit up-to-date list of committee chairs. And September 1st, the staff hasn't completed, put on the website. But if they'd like to do it before then, if we could. It's just hard to have anything due July 1st, you know, the 4th of July, the office is closed and all kinds of things like that. So if people get the information ahead of time, please like turn it in.
Okay,
And we're gonna be talking about like I'm gonna have something in June about what people can do, like kind of like the committee chair thing. I think we just need a list of the different committees and what can you do, you know, for each of those committees or other aspects of NCRSP. So maybe people, and send out a Whoopie form and get people to try to sign up.
okay. Thank
Linda,
you.
can you send me a copy of that NBI, please?
Yes,
When it's in the chat, Linda?
yeah.
Okay, okay. Liz, your hand is raised?
Sorry, I forgot to lower it.
Oh, okay. And then the last segment of this, as president, you'll find that there will be several opportunities for members to give throughout the year. And the first one that usually comes is for the North Carolina Foundation for Public School Children. And the local can include a line item in the budget for a donation to the foundation, and also individual donations are accepted. Then the Martin Luther King Scholarship, that also can be included in the local budget as well as individual donations. And then Great Public Schools, which was PAC. And this can only be donations from members. Dues money may not be used for the Great Public Schools, PAC. And what I did last year, I sent as part of my email, and the information that was provided to the members was this image of a check, as so they could see exactly how to make out the check, how to make it payable, so that they were not actually writing it to the local. And so pay to the order of, and then the region number. So hopefully that helped, because members will make it out to the branch and then have to go back and change it and make it right. The other is the Jack Kinnaman NEA which is a part of the NEA Foundation. And these donations can be collected throughout the year. You know that one year when we were meeting in person, I just had a jar that was there by the table when the members came to sign in for the meeting, and just asked them to drop in any change that they had. And then at the end of the year, a check for the total amount was written that was payable to the NEA Foundation for the Jack Kinnaman Scholarship. And so that pretty much ends my segment. Are there any questions for me?
I just will add that the Kinnaman Scholarship was established in honor of Jack Kinnaman when he passed away as vice president, and his family wanted to set up a foundation that would provide a scholarship type payment to them who are going into education as their career. So which is really cool. So they've done several aspiring educators with a scholarship out of this fund to help with their school expenses.
Right, because they actually give 5 $3,500 scholarships each year.
Yeah,
And so that is
it's a big
really
deal.
admirable, really is. And so they started in 2002. Okay, so Barbara?
Okay,
do
can you
you
just
wanna-
roll it back up to where it begins for me? So,
Okay.
sorry, I was late. I had the wrong email. All righty. So, welcome. I would like to say thank you to those of you that are attending and have taken on the responsibility of leading your local as the president. I've been the president for New Hanover County for 2 years. I've only been a member of NCRSP for 4.5, so I've learned as I've gone. But anyway, in the bylaws, Article 3, Section 3, it says duties of the officers. And what I did was I went in and adjusted some of the wording to address local presidents. It's basically the same as if you were the president of NCRSP, but I went in and made it specific. So you need, you will call and chair any meetings of your local executive board, and that will be your vice president, your treasurer, and your secretary, and your committee chairs. And you're responsible for the presentation and preparation of agendas, and making sure that the minutes are done, the draft minutes, and you'll appoint the chairpersons for your local committees. And we'll talk about those in a minute. And then you're also an ex officio member on all committees and the board, but you are not a voting member, but you are on there to advise and guide. The President Administrative Council, which is your executive board, you review the policies. And if you have your own set of policies, which I don't recommend, I just recommend that you have policies that align with the state. But you do vote in case there's a tie at your executive board meeting. And your other responsibilities are listed there. I don't want to keep you for that, but you can read that on your own because we will send you a copy of the slide deck. Just know that as past president, they're invited to all of the meetings as well. And they serve in an advisory position. And the past president may install local officers as needed and serve on committees. And just remember that as president, the buck stops with you. I'm not trying to scare you, but you really do need to know what's going on in your local and know what your committees are doing throughout the year and have a two-way communication. Okay, next slide, please. Or can I do that? So in the bylaws, the committees are broken really down into 3 sections. So to me, the most important committees are your community service, your quality of life, and your membership committees. But if you'll look, you'll see that your governance board committees are in the first box, and then program and special committees. I don't see membership put up there under governance, and that should probably be there, but it wasn't in the Constitution and the bylaws, so I'll go back and look at that. The second box talks to you about committee selection, terms of office. It's a 2-year term, and you can read that. The duties turn over on July 1st. So at the May or your last meeting of the second year of the cycle for your presidency, the new officers will be installed, and then their duties will start the following July. Then you have special committees that the president can appoint. I kind of call them like ad hoc committees, like the PAC committee is an ad hoc committee of the state legislation committee. And the term of that committee office is based on the purpose and whether the purpose has been achieved. So you do need to have a copy of the Constitution and the bylaws as president so that you can stay within line of what NCAE, NEA, and NCRSP guidelines are. Any questions? All right, next slide. So for meetings, there's nothing in the Constitution or the bylaws that stipulate the number of meetings that you have to have as a local. Somewhere at one point I read a couple years ago that they recommended 10, but that's up to you and your members. But you do need to follow parliamentary procedures when you conduct your meetings, whether they're committee meetings or general member meetings or your executive board meetings. I would recommend, since the state has a strategic plan, that the local have a strategic plan of some sort, which is setting out a path of how you're going to, the programs you're going to have for the year, the guest speakers that you might be trying to get to come to your meetings, and how you're going to accomplish the goals. Like if you're going to increase membership, what are the strategies and events that you're going to do? So that it's all set out in a calendar timeline, and you're not scrambling around at the last minute trying to decide what you're going to do for the meeting. I usually get with my executive board in early August, and we sit down and we plan out the year, what months we're going to meet, what we want to have as our program for that month, how we're going to tie in quality of life into that program, community service, and membership recruitment. So you can have your meetings anytime from July 1st through the June 30th. But what I would say is determine the day of the week, the time of the day, and the location, and keep it consistent. One thing is that we're looking at, because so many of our active NCAE members who are retiring are going back to work. They're not staying in for 30, 40 years anymore. They're going out as soon as they can. So we're looking at possibly changing our meetings to an afternoon, late afternoon, so that we can accommodate those people who are working but want to participate. So keep that in mind as you plan for the next year. Always have an agenda. I have a copy of an agenda, but I don't know if I can pop out a screen share and bring it up. Do I have that ability? The hostess?
You do have screen sharing rights, yes.
Okay.
I'll stop this share and you can.
Thank
Go ahead.
you.
You're welcome. And then you can share yours.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I try to get things on.
Okay.
All right. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. One of the things I try to hone in on with people is that you have to have your brand on everything. Whatever you use needs to have the NCRSP logo on it. If you have a separate logo for your unit, that's fine. I mean, because you're not advertising it so much, but you really have to have the NCAE logo on everything you do. So when I do an agenda, I just pop it up into the upper area. It's the header of the form. I put the membership meeting, the date, and where we had it. So, and then I set up time frames. We have a 30-minute freshman set up fellowship time, and then we start right at 10 o'clock. For this meeting, we had a line dancer. He took about 20 minutes to do the line dancing. So that was an interactive, which got us up. So that's quality of life. Movement was quality of life. Music's quality of life. And then it was also a learning experience because a lot of people didn't know about line dancing. And then at 10:35, we start our meeting after our guest speaker has left. I like to keep time limits on so that you stay in your hour of time or your hour and a half and respect your members' times. They're busy, busy people. I also have norms that comes from NCAE. And I find that if you have norms of behavior set up, like we did at convention with behavior expectations, it's just like a classroom. We're all retired teachers. And then we have an invocation. It can be just a moment of silence or something short, 2 minutes. We're not there to have a Bible preaching. And then the Pledge of Allegiance. Then I set up the time. I also put the names of the people that's going to be responsible for that section. Short business, approval of the agenda with latitude, which means as you go through your meeting, you can adjust your agenda. If you approve the agenda without latitude, you have to stick to the agenda. That's parliamentary procedure. So it's always good to do with latitude so that if you get down through your agenda and things come up, you have that permission to adjust your agenda. I always send out my minutes ahead of time and have copies. I don't ask my treasurer, my secretary to read the minutes. That takes up too much time. And if you can read them, and then we talk about, is there any adjustments, changes, corrections? If there aren't any, then it's moved for approval with consensus. Treasurer gives her report, and that's informational. It doesn't have to be voted on. And we have a corresponding secretary. She's the one that sends out our sympathy cards, get well cards. She has a group that sends out cards to our shut-ins on a regular basis, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, Valentine's Day, things like that. And so she gives a report, and people report to her people who've passed, or we get it from our report. So we interchange and share everything. And then I only put up for committee reports for people that want to talk about what's happening in their committee. I don't require every committee to have a report. Not every committee is doing something every month. So if they have something that they want to report, or if they're working on and they want to report back to the membership, then we take the report. And then I set up time for old business. So we talked about the state convention delegates that were going, set up an election committee, and then we closed out. On the agenda, I always have the dates, the upcoming dates of our monthly meetings, and our executive board meetings, deadline dates. We were going to do Relay for Life this year. They have fallen through on that. I always have our community service for Bread for Life, which is it's a food pantry and hygiene products pantry for those that are 65 and older that are on Medicaid and food stamps and WIC. Life Care is a hospice center, and then we have adopted 2 schools that we give them loving touches because they don't have a PTA. So I adjust the dates as we go. And as you see, I have down to the 14th and deadlines for those. So that's my agenda. So if we can go back to the other slide, Tama, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. If we go back up to where I was with, yeah. So I like to be sure that we stay on target with time. Thank you.
Mhm.
And I like to keep the meetings short, no more than an hour and a half. I like to have quality programs. I found that during COVID, even when we met by Zoom, we could have quality programs. We had guest speakers come on that presented, and it keeps people engaged. I try to do something that gets people moving. I'm probably one of the more recently retired people, and I remember boring staff meetings on Wednesday afternoon. And you sat there and thought about all the things you had to do, and that most of what you did in the meeting could have been handled by email. So I try to think like that on people so that I'm keeping their time at the meeting short, and they can visit earlier, or a lot of times they'll go and have lunch together afterwards, which is great. But I try to do something that they feel that they've accomplished something, they've learned something, and they've got something of value out of it, and it wasn't a waste of their time. And then I respect their time because it is their time. And I have, I think, one more slide, maybe.
No, that was it.
Awesome. Are there any questions?
I have a question about the logo. You have 2 logos that on top of your agenda.
Right, because we designed a local for our local. But we only put it on our materials for our local. I don't add it to anything else. So if we're doing something local, like a handout or whatever, then I'll put it on there. I put it on all of my correspondence that's within the local. And when we're recruiting members, on a little postcard that I use a lot of times to send out. But if I'm doing something that's region-wide and statewide, then I don't put the local on there, the local logo. Boy, that's a tongue twister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you have to have your logo approved. And, you know, we're not going to use that as an advertising tool. But when you're doing something wherever, you need to use the state's logo, is my opinion. Because I will tell you this, as an active person until 2019 and coming over, a lot of our active locals members do not know anything at all about the retired division. They don't know that they can flip over to us. They don't know about their member benefits, and they are struggling as it is anyway. I have 7 counties, and when I started As region director, this last year, I only had 2 counties that were actively meeting, basically. Brunswick and New Hanover have been meeting by Zoom during COVID. I got them up and running and they were able to do that. And that's helped their membership. And now we're meeting face to face. But everything should have that logo on it, reports, anything. And if you need help with your Google Docs or doing that, I'm glad to help you with that. But don't be afraid of technology. Like Tama said, a lot of the things, and Carol, they do put it in a PDF, and sometimes it's not able to be typed on, and you have to convert it over. And there are free websites that you can download the app and do that, and then upload it back if you need to learn how to scan something. Sadly, everything is going through digital access. And so, in my opinion, as a president, you're going to have to juggle and meet the needs of the post-tech people, or the pre-tech people and the post-tech people. Your people that are coming out as new retirees are going to expect emails. They're going to expect social media. They're going to expect Instagram and all those things. And then we have to also take care of our 80s and 90-year-olds that don't do that. And how are we going to communicate with them? And so it's a two-way system. So I use PhoneVite a lot to make phone calls to remind people of meetings. And we do budget for mailing. And you do need to budget in your budget for your cash pay members. That will come out in August. Your treasurer knows about that, but you need to help your treasurer if they don't know about it. Be sure they went to the meeting for the treasurer's training. Because the state will send down to them all the membership dues. It's like a packet. And there'll be letters in there about the ones that pay by check that you have to send out by a certain date, so that they get the checks back to the treasurer and they get logged and sent to Raleigh. And that will help you with knowing how many members you have. So you as president, working with your membership and your treasurer is very important. Very important. Because you can't operate without the dues. You can't get dues if you don't have members. And you need somebody that's going to keep track of the books so you know how much money you have. Any other questions? I see Sharon there smiling. Hi, Sharon. Haven't seen you in a while. Hi, Dee. Dee, I'm going to send you a hug. Any other questions?
Miss Anderson, Pat Reagan, Chatham County Treasurer, Membership Chair. How are you? I had
I'm
to
good.
leave work and come home. You made a statement about the treasurer having money, cash money for members who pay by cash.
No, they're going to get their documents come from Raleigh. Tara will send a packet and you'll get a list of all your members who pay by cash, which means by check. And they're called cash pay because apparently a check is cash, not EFT where there's direct draft out of their checking or payroll deduction or credit card. It's just ones that pay by check. Mostly they're your most elderly members because they aren't electronic. So you have to send them information, and there'll be a duplication forms, I think, Carol, right? And they send that out with an envelope for them to mail their check back to the treasurer.
Okay, I understand that, and I do get that. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
with that.
but no cash, but they call it cash pay.
Right.
That's confusing.
Now-
They should be check pay, but
Yeah, I'm familiar with that, and I do handle that. My concern is there was such a mix-up last year with those duplicated forms, because I ended up getting 2 sets of the duplicated forms rather than the tri-copies.
oh wow.
So when that happens, when I had the tri-copies, then I was aware, and I had a copy of the members. When I sent out a copy, I had a copy. But last year I don't know what happened. Some of my members never responded to Raleigh because I did not know who had not, and I could not follow up because I didn't have my copy that I keep for myself. So this upcoming year, when we get the tri-copies, we have the bi-copies again.
let's talk to Carol about that. There was
Yeah, that's
a
a,
problem with printing. And Carol, I know there's something about the order of the forms.
and
Yeah,
I
Because
think
what,
that Kara's the one
what,
that sends it out, right, Linda? Kara's the one that sends all that out?
Carol and Tara both sent those out in August. That's why I'm referring to her.
because what happened, some of my elderly members, by me not having a copy, I'm not able to follow up with them, and they went into delinquency. So I'm very particular how I handle my elderly members, because I always follow up with a phone call with them to make sure they have sent their money in. But for some reason or another, sometimes one or two slips through the crack.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're supposed to send, if I'm not mistaken, they're supposed to send the check to you as the treasurer, Pat. And then you, so that you can check them off your tracking list?
No, that's not what's been happening with based on directions that comes with the forms. It says to send your money directly to NCAE
I know that was a year before, but I
Well,
thought they went back to the old way
They
when
have
they sent it to you.
never has anyone returned any payments to me.
Okay.
So I have no clue who pays.
Well, see, that helps when you do have it come back to you. That's the first thing I learned from treasurers. When I became vice president in 2018, the treasurers are adamant that they get the forms and they check people off, and then they could send them en masse to Raleigh. And you have to put an address label or something over the bottom where it says send it to Raleigh, and have them send it to you. And I don't know if maybe we need to discuss it with staff. The thing is, if the locals don't know what's gone in, then that's how we end up in December losing over 200 people because they didn't pay their dues. So,
So I don't know, Pat, how you missed that. That's what my treasurer has always done, is had them come back to her. And then the year that they switched it, it was a mess. Because like Linda said, we didn't know who hadn't sent their checks to Raleigh until December, when we got a delinquent list of
Yes.
those that had not been sent. And by then it's too late.
yeah, that's when the state, I think, emailed them to everybody. I think that's what they did, but I think that was before Carol was here.
Yes, it was before Carol was here.
Because the state said, oh, we're going to take care of it, and so we're going to mail it out. So that was the great executive director's decision at that time. And we didn't know anything about it until it hit. And so the local member got something from the state that they weren't used to be hearing from. And then $28,000 worth of dues was not paid that year. And in February, we were able to recoup about $5,000, about $5,000. And we've still been trying to recoup those people that we lost from back then. So it is better and I think we put it in writing that all this information has to go to the locals, and then the local sends it out. But then what you're talking about is on the form, it says for each individual person to mail it back to the state. But I think it would be easier, and maybe we need to talk to Carol about this.
Well, I think it's all in what's on the form. The
Okay,
form does not say anything about sending it back to the treasurer.
Okay, I think maybe that's something we need to make sure is on there, because Carol, if you're getting all these individual payments that are coming into you, one envelope at a time, that's a lot, because you're gonna have about 2,000 of them. So it would be better if you had envelopes coming from 100 locals. I mean, you might get them twice, but that would cut down on the amount of mail that you have to process.
As long as we have local treasurers who are willing to collect those dues and send it to Raleigh as a packet, and the cost of printing the copy form was so much greater than the cost for printing just a duplicate form. That's why an executive decision was made to discontinue the copies. So the board would need to approve additional budget so we can go back to printing the copies, so that the local treasurer can keep a copy of that for themselves I think it was said in the office that, well, the local treasurer should make themselves a copy if they need a copy, because the cost is so prohibitive to make the tricolor programs, cash pay invoices. So we went with just the duplicate, but that's something that the board should discuss for this coming up cash pay season, when we send those out in August, if you want to have printed just the duplicate or the tri form.
Well, Carol, I do not get any cash paying forms from the state. When you talk about costs, on last year, if it's so much more expensive to do the tri copy, then why send me 2 sets of the bi copies?
That was a
Because-
printer error. We didn't do
Okay.
that. Yeah, the printer did that.
I also talked to Tara about trying to get some quotes on prices, because I think the price went up on those tri copies and it was last minute, but let's see if we can get a better price on that. Somebody surely can do it for us for a better price. And so I think the tri copies, and then have it on there that everybody sends it back to their local treasurer.
But if you're treasurer, Pat, you should get a copy of the roster every month
I
with
do.
the pay, and then you have that current member roster to know who is your cash pay, because it says that it indicates that on the roster, and you could check those people off as you get their checks back to you for their yearly dues by check, and then batch them up.
Well, see, as I've only been a treasurer for 2 years, I have never had any cash pay members on my duplicate forms or the forms that are sent from Raleigh. All of mine are either check or credit card.
Well,
So when
that is check. Check is cash pay.
well, they send it directly to Raleigh.
No, they need to come to you so that you can log them in. And that way
Right.
you know whether they've paid.
Then maybe that might need to be a disclaimer on the form, on the application form.
You just put a little tab, a little kind of like a label down there at the bottom, and tell them where to mail it.
My treasurer ran off address labels for her address, and she
Right.
sent a letter with the form saying, please return your check, dues check, to my address so that I can annotate that you are renewing your membership, and then I will forward your dues to Raleigh.
There you go.
Have a problem too with receiving these checks through mail. We've had so much problems with mail. I am assisting the treasurer, so I've just been doing it a year or so. So we got all of that information just like Pat did, with 2 duplicate copies of the same thing. So it was kind of confusing. And then you have the expense of sending these out to your members, plus then you got to get the money back, and hopefully you'll get it and it's not lost, because I've had checks that have been lost in the mail for several weeks, and some of them never showed up. So I don't, why can't the state send those things directly out to those people? I hear what you're saying. You don't know who's paid and who's not, but it would be so much easier for the locals not to have to deal with this. And I know you probably say, well, that's your responsibility, but still, it's just a lot of extra work to go through to get to the same point. Okay.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes.
The treasurer also lets those people who pay by check know that she will be accepting their checks at the September meeting. And they come with their check to the September meeting.
Yeah, that's everybody used to walk in with the checks, and then I know Wake County has a PO box. And having a PO box sometimes helps with those checks too.
You're going to have mailing expense, period. I mean,
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. But
Yeah.
it seems like it's a lot of steps to the same thing. But that's my opinion. Like I said, I haven't been doing this very long, so I'll get the hang of it. So thank you. Thank you.
Linda, what I did last year when I sent the forms out to the members, I sent a cover letter and I sent a self-addressed stamp envelope. So the only thing they had to do was put it in the envelope and drop it in the mail.
And do they send it back to you?
They did.
Yep, that's what we do. We send out.
So I
Yeah,
just,
well,
I
we
just buy roll
also-
of stamps.
Yeah, we sent out reminders to our members too, who were cash paying members. So it wasn't as if we didn't remind them to send that. But even after reminders and even after sending all of that, you know, you always have somebody who doesn't. And it's a lot of older members too that we have who sometimes don't get things in on time. Okay, thank
Well,
you.
That's
Thank
when
you
that's,
very much.
sometimes you have to go meet
Yeah.
with them then. That's what we did.
Maybe
Especially
we,
during COVID, we went to their homes just because it was a wellness check. That's what we told them. We're here for a wellness check.
Yeah.
With COVID, you just have to nowadays. You can't assume that they're okay. Especially our really elderly members. You just can't assume.
let's see if we can write up some directions about this that will help people. Because I can see we're talking about different things at the same time. It's like,
Right.
we're talking about different things like the state mailing to the local, you mailing it to the member mailing it to you, and you mail it to the state. But I'm just telling you that $23,000 of the membership was lost about 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
This has been good discussion because this will help Carol and Tara plan to make it easier for you and your treasurer. But Linda, I like that you say you're helping your treasurer because you do need to work very closely together with, be sure you get your dues and that your membership rosters are correct and that the reporting of deceased members is done timely so that the rosters are kept up, and making sure that your rosters are updated as far as the member information. So to me, the three people that I worked with the most was membership treasurer, and I worked with quality of life because I wanted to be sure members receive something, and then community service, members are doing something. Does that make sense? So it's a team effort. That's why you have an executive board. It's a team effort. Everybody has to work together. And we're multiple hats, right, Linda?
Yes. I don't know which Linda you're talking to.
But yeah, Linda.
This is Linda Strickland. Yeah.
Yeah.
Linda Gunter. Yes, yes. We do wear multiple hats. So
Definitely.
I will say that. Yes.
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
Barbara,
Right.
you made that great statement when you said keep your membership list updated. Last year, that was a new business item. I think we didn't make it a new business item this year, but it needs to be done, and that's something I'm gonna have to send out. Because when I was calling for the PAC, I was getting like phone numbers that didn't work, all kinds of stuff. At least check the email addresses. It appears like people are, maybe they've been in a scam and they're changing their emails or changing their phone numbers. I don't know what in the world is happening. But keep that up-to-date information because we lose contact with our members when y'all have email addresses. And then even with the phone bite, it seems like, everybody's not using phone bite. But if you want to call them, you don't want to get some disconnected number. And so we really, each local, in fact, this was supposed to be done last year. I remember in Winston-Salem, Pauline had a group of people and they were kind of doing a phone bank. And they divided the list and they called 20 people apiece. And they called every one of their members and got the up-to-date information. But of course, the thing is when you call, they might not be there, then it's disconnected. And that's when, if you have white pages, comes in. And I had mentioned that before, that maybe each region needs to get a white pages account so you can look up people that are not, maybe they change their email or they're not calling their email. It's going to tell you maybe a phone number or an address. And I know when I was calling for PAC money, I called Colleen or I send her a message. I need to know so-and-so's information. She would send it back to me and I would call them. And that's how I got their up-to-date information. But I shouldn't have had to do that. But if each local takes care of it, that really helps. So we're just gonna have to do everything we can to keep up with that. And you need a team of people just to take care of that for you.
Yeah, your membership team. I know that Duplin County, Bladen County last summer, they got a group together and phone called every one of their members. We did that in 21 when we did a directory of our members and contacted them. And then when the ones that we couldn't find, we went to their homes. We did home visits and we delivered the directory to every member in New Hanover County. personally. And that's where we found, and we even after calling, we found people had moved, they were deceased, we couldn't find where they were. And so when people's emails and phone numbers aren't working, that's a time for a home visit. Carol?
I also wanted to say that Barbara says she thinks that the most active committees are the community service, membership, and quality of life. That many locals also have an elections committee, a communications committee, a memorials committee, legislative committee, recognitions committee, and a scholarship committee. So within the locals, there's a lot of opportunity for involvement in the area that your members would like to serve. Now, it's true we do have some vacancies because that's a lot of committees for one local to staff, but there are also more opportunities for members to get involved in something that's of interest to them.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you thought I was negating all the committees. I'm just saying, if you're getting a local that's up and running, then those are the ones that I feel are the most important to get going because
Right.
of capacity. But you do need others. The election committee is only every 2 years. You don't have to have an elections committee except on an election year. The other ones are not as important. The governance committees are the most important. But if you're like a small unit, what I've advised mine, because I've had 7 counties and a year and a half ago, we only had 2 meeting locally. I now have 6 up and running out of 7. And that's what I say to them. You're trying to build capacity. It's not going to be at the beginning like it was before, where you have somebody to fill every committee. You're going to have to pick and choose and work with what you have until you build the capacity to fill those committees. That doesn't mean you don't do that committee work. Like if you have recognitions, that's only during right before convention time. But you get people to do what needs to be done. And what is the most benefit to your members? Communications is important, but people can take on multiple tasks for what's needed. But I really feel you have to look at what benefits your members and quality of life, letting them know about programs such as, breast cancer awareness or how to eat nutritionally or Alzheimer issues or anything like that is information geared to making their life better. If you go to the website under Quality of Life Committee, there's a whole list of resources that you can use. But somebody shouldn't be just standing up there reading to people at a meeting. If like line dancing is they learned to line dance, but they also got up and moved and they had music. So try to think as a teacher, how can you do multiple aspects in one way? What can you do? At Christmas, we address Christmas cards to teachers at the 2 schools that we adopted. So by writing a note, you're doing fine motor skills, right? You're writing. They're writing a note. They're also talking about the teacher. They're stuffing the envelope with whatever piece of candy we're putting in there. So they're doing a quality of life activity and they're doing a community service activity all at once. And they feel like they've done something for somebody else. So just think about how you can put all those together to accomplish the member walking out of your meeting feeling like, I really did something today. It was worth my time to come. And that's what we're rolling with. But also, people are tired. So just make it as easy as you can. Don't recreate the wheel. Look what other people have done. And use your recordings and bring things in. But yeah, but you have to take care of like 3 different generations. It's a generational thing. So, but it can be done. It can be done. Anything else?
I have a question about, is there a newsletter that is, if someone does in a local chapter that we can observe and maybe get some
Sure.
ideas as president newsletter?
Yep. You see, I do the communications, so that's, yeah, I haven't done but one this year because there's been so much going on. We also did a region newsletter, with Deborah Knox. If you, want to drop me a note, or if, I get a list of the people that attended this meeting, I'll be glad to send out a copy of one of my newsletters. I was a media specialist, but I tell you what, being the president and having to learn different technologies and things like that, I've learned a lot on how to use technology, and Tama is really good. I mean, she's light years ahead of me as far as using technology, but I rely on Google and Google Docs because it saves everything on there. You can jointly work together on projects on a Google Doc. The slideshow is done on Google's, and we worked on that together, Tama and I, and we could bring it up and work collectively on that. There's a lot of ways to do that. But, you know, let Linda know if you need any help, or you can contact me. Yeah, and I do that too. When you email your members, go into your spam folder. And you'll, if you don't get it popped up, go into your spam folder and you'll see where your emails came back on you. And that way you can track them that way. And I do that for the region, and then I let my region presidents know which emails came back when I do a region email. See, I'm region director and president, but I go off this year as president.
Carol, this is Pat Reagan. I agree with Mildred. And the newsletter is something that hopefully our local would take on this year. I'm looking for an easy to start template that I can erase your information and then put mines in, and then eventually learn how to do it a little bit more on my own.
I haven't been able to find a template. Anybody on here hadn't found a template that they could use?
Julia has a session this afternoon about media, so she may have some ideas on that.
She will also work with you individually on a newsletter. Sometimes she gets too fancy with her flipjack or whatever that stuff is called, and I told her that's not good to show. People wanted to see something that's not going to be moving. You can't read it, and so she has collected some newsletters from other locals, and I think it's on the region local page that I've asked her just this morning at 8 o'clock. I told her don't have to do it today, but to come up with a page where we can have all these newsletters from different locals, and therefore you could click on them and you could see what somebody else has, and you might be able to just, you know, open it up and then make it yours. But she'll help you with a template.
Yeah, when I do a newsletter, I just use a Word document and I upload my graphics to there, and I upload pictures to that. And I see that Liz she uses Google Docs template, which you can use that too. And then I just save it. And then when I go back to reuse it, I use the same thing, basically just plug in different information into the boxes that are on that document. And Google works the same way. It's just learning how to move things around and how to upload, you know, the clip art. Be sure it's free. Don't, you know, be sure you don't plagiarize, and upload photos that you've taken out of your meetings and things like that. And, you know, just put in information. But I was doing it the first year, every other month. And then as our members became more active and we became more face-to-face, I kind of eased back on my newsletter. So if you are just starting out, then you need to do more. And then as you increase your capacity, you can sort of back off a little bit, but because you're in communication anyway. Anything else, Tama, you want to add to that?
Well, at the NCRSP website under locals, where you have forums and resources, there is an ABCs for a local newsletter that is there, and it gives some suggestions as to what information to include, you know, how to make it appropriate for your audience. And this is something that Julia has posted.
It's under locals on the
Thank you.
website.
It's under local.
Right, when you go to the NCRSP website and click on the menu button,
Okay.
it's the 3 horizontal lines on the left, and then you choose forms resources,
Mhm.
and then going down to where it says locals.
Mhm.
And there it has their ABCs. It's the next to the last item. Because the last item is ABCs for a brag board, and then before that is ABCs for a local newsletter.
And if you can't find anything in the drop down, then they have a search bar up there on
Mhm.
the upper right, and you can use that search bar to help you find things too.
Like a magnifying, it looks like a magnifying glass. That's
Yeah.
why I found it right when I think Tama did.
Yeah.
But I think she's gonna put some more samples up there. And I think she just needs some really simple things that people can use. And then, like I said, like Pat was saying, delete somebody else's stuff and put your stuff in. Come up with some kind of heading for your local. But Julie's willing to work with you. Get her before she gets too busy.
Yeah, if you're curious, go to the Carteret County website. And there was another one on the up in 7A, up in the Outer Banks area that had a really good website as well.
I think it's
Um,
Dare County.
Yeah, but I know Carteret has a really good website. Mine is not as good as that. So
Well, Tonga has one that's really unusual called the pencil. They used to do it, but the lady who did that passed away. I'm not sure if somebody else is still doing it or not.
yeah. But it's time, you have to update and it's time consuming. But I do have a Facebook for the local. And so I post things on there that are public. I don't put anything about meetings and stuff like that because I don't want anybody just showing up at our meeting because it's not. I did that one time and it was a training for, actually it was working with bus drivers to organize for a pay raise, and I ended up with all the TV stations there and it was like, oh my God. So as you don't want the TV there when you're working with a group of educators to organize it. for. So anywho, so I don't do that, but I do use PhoneVite, and you can go into PhoneVite, which is really cool, and get a record of the phone numbers that were contacted, that answered, were busy, no longer invalid numbers, and you can check that way too. And thank you, everybody.
Yeah. And Barbara and I will be available throughout the year if there are any questions that come up or in any way that we can assist, especially with the mailings for membership renewal. I had to learn to sort my Excel file into the correct categories, and then I create labels after I do that for the mailing. So it just made it a lot easier. Because at one time we got the mailing information from the state office, but it comes a time you have to learn to fly.
Okay, but that would maybe be something good we could do in August before the dues information comes out
That would be great.
with the
'Cause I-
treasurers and the presidents, because I would love to learn it too. Because I'm stepping down as president, but stepping in as treasurer for
Okay.
the next terms, and I would love to learn how to do that. And
I think Cumberland was spoiled. They asked me, would I create a label page so they could just print it, and I did. You know, I'm there to help as I have time. But when it's cash pay time, it is very busy. But I will help you as I can.
I know you will. I think it's really good, but I like the idea of being able to sort out on your membership roster by payment category. So it
Mhm.
condenses it all down into, one page for the cash pay, the checks, the people that pay by check, those that pay by payroll deduction, those that pay by credit card. Because with credit cards, I learned this year when we got our list of dropped members, most of them were credit cards. And everyone I contacted had to change their credit card because it had been hacked or it had expired and they forgot to renew.
Mhm.
So I really like that idea of being able to ferret out the different payment groups
Mhm.
for that reason. Just to send a reminder to the credit card payers that, please check your credit card. This is, the last 4 digits on file. Please check it to be sure that it's up to date, hasn't expired. Thanks, everybody.
Lin-
This has been awesome. I've learned a lot from all of
Yeah,
you.
Linda, it sounds like we need to have a session on the cash pay processes for presidents and treasurers to get on and understand what their responsibility and role is with that whole rollout of the cash pays in August.
I think so. I
I,
think that
I,
would be
I
good.
agree.
I would recommend that. I wanted to share about the cash pay and thank Carol a lot. She helped me. I had to step in and do that. So definitely get that session organized because our treasurer's time, she has to do it. We were in the situation where I just didn't do it. I'm not complaining about it, but there's a lot of eyes to dot and T's crossed if that. I see Barbara shaking her head and Carol as well. And so I think for all of us want to do a good job, there's nothing like the training. And just personally, I've just enjoyed all the leadership series. They have been really, really good. Do one for past presidents, okay? Because I'll be doing that after June 30th. You can tell I really love you. But that's how you learn and you network. Because today we've shared ideas. I'm meeting with the incoming president. I have made a list of things to share with her, but guess what? I've got some more things to share with her. So thank you for doing this.
Well, you should have a book, Dee, because I've kept records, like a copy of all my agendas, the Constitution. And when I took over from the past president, she gave me a notebook with some of that information in it, and I've just added to it. And I think that's great that you're meeting with her because that'll be really helpful for your new president. The other thing I want to say before I leave is that working with your treasurer really is important for two reasons. Linda focused on this a little bit. You do need to have 2 signatures on all your accounts. And the reason why is if my treasurer hadn't told me in the first of, let's see, it was 22, I think it was, she said, Barbara, I haven't gotten any of my quarterly dues for the last 2 quarters. And so when we investigated it, we found out that the region treasurer was ill. And when the region director contacted her, she said, oh, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to be better. I'm going to be better. But she didn't. And she eventually passed away. And so the locals did not receive quarterly dues for a year.
Oh.
And there was only the treasurer that passed away was the only signature on that account. And so the region director had to go back and go back through the accounts, figure out how to disperse the dues for a whole year. So that was 4 and 1 quarter in another year. So 5 quarters of dues and get the records, and it's a mess. So you have to work with your treasurer, and the treasurer is important in helping you with all that. And be sure you do have two names on all those accounts.
And one other thing, Barbara, I do have a notebook for her. And I would like for you all to know that over the years, when we've changed leadership here in Charlotte, every president passed that transition notebook down. We're asking our committees to do it. So just thank you for having that even written in the Constitution.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dee. That's a good idea for the committees also. Also, that's a good idea. All right. I've enjoyed talking to everybody, but we've gone way over our time, and I know people have things to do and places to go.
And I just wanted to say, we really appreciate you. I think that we didn't have a larger audience this morning because we had to list Julia's 2 o'clock first because she had a separate Zoom from you at 10 o'clock and then the 3 o'clock. So I think that we probably missed 40 people or more, but it's all being recorded and Julia will have it on the website. So have no fear, people will, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we appreciate all of you. It's a team.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Tama.
You're welcome. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Carol.